Hey there, happy Thursday night to you, West Michigan. I'm meteorologist Will Haney here. We are going to kick off this Facebook Live here in just a few seconds. I got paranoid because I thought I forgot to close the door and didn't want some hallway noise getting its way on in here. But I hope everyone's having a great Thursday. It has been hard to complain in the weather department these last couple of days. I'll say that much. And if you've not been outside the last couple of days to enjoy the warmth, the sunshine, then I pity you because it has been really nice. Even if you've been out for 5-10 minutes, that's something, right? I'm going to share this to my page just really quick, and then we'll get the discussion started. And let me know what you're up to this evening. And we do have some changes on the way, turning colder in the next 48 hours, but it is a pretty short-lived cool down. This weekend's not too bad. It will be a little bit more winter-esque, at least on Saturday. But at least we have some sunshine to look forward to. So let's talk through it now that I've shared that to my page. Like I said, hopefully everyone's having a good Thursday night. So I'm going to make graphic a little bigger. So this is a view from Windmill Island Gardens up in Holland. De Zwaan, I think I'm saying that right, is Dutch for the mill. And I mentioned this on air earlier. We're 72 days away from the start of tulip time. It's on May 4th this year. Hello, Jeanette in Coldwater. It was a nice day after the rain. Moon and stars are out. This is true. The moon is looking very bright right now. We'll touch on that. Jeanette, appreciate you. Temperatures are in the upper 30s in Battle Creek, 42 in Kalamazoo right now. Just in case you're sneaking in a late night dog walk right now, want to dress for some upper 30s, low 40s. That system that brought the rain earlier in the day is well off to our south and east right now. The rain was really confined to really that US 12 corridor through portions of Branch and St. Joseph County. So Sturgis, for example, the airport there seeing about 1/4 of an inch. I would wager that probably Coldwater, maybe about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. But you can see a whole lot of nothing in Kalamazoo and Battle Creek. Maybe some sprinkles in Kalamazoo County, maybe in Calhoun County as well, but it didn't really amount to much. So our drier theme continues. Hello, Glenn Miller. Glenn Miller, leader of the Glenn Miller Band? What? Reincarnated on this Facebook Live? Glenn, I'm sure you've never heard that one before. Ashley, no more snow, please. Ready for spring already. Ashley, you've been getting pretty spoiled lately. If you're not into the snow stuff. So we need to count our blessings, that's for sure. It is February, and we were just in the 60s and the 50s today. Hello, Tammy and Madawan. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good day. Thank you, Mike, for spreading the good vibes. Kathy says hi, Will and Sturgis. What's up, Kathy and Sturgis? Carol in Sturgis. We got a lot of Sturgis peeps on here tonight. Sturgis representing. All right. So Jeanette mentioned that fact that we saw some rain earlier in the day. Glenn Miller is a distant relative of the Glenn Miller. If that's true, Glenn Miller, we need to talk. Are you Glenn Miller the third, twice removed? That's really cool. I don't know if you're kidding, but if you're not kidding, we need to talk. All right, so tonight's moon is nearly full. It's about 97, 98% waxing gibbous, meaning it is approaching full moon. It will be full, by the way, this weekend. So watch out for werewolves, all that good stuff on Saturday. As we look ahead, like I mentioned, the next 48 hours, tomorrow we get a first wave of some cooler temperatures, and then it'll drop off even more Friday into Saturday. So there's kind of two pushes of some colder air on the way these next couple of days. So today's high, by the way, was 58 in Kalamazoo. So we're going to be about 15 degrees or so cooler tomorrow, and then we'll drop another 10 degrees into Saturday. One thing to note is that 15 degrees early Saturday morning, that's the coldest air temperature we've seen since January 22nd when we hit a low of 14. So we've seen a couple teens so far this month, but only a couple, which is crazy for February. So the fact that we haven't even hit 15 in weeks is bananas. But you do see there, it's a very short-lived cool down because we're right back up in the upper 40s for Sunday. So let's talk about what's going to happen next week. So I mentioned that's just the start of a warm-up. Here's the 5-day temperature trend, and now we're looking into Monday and Tuesday. You can see we keep stair-stepping. that Tuesday is within a couple degrees of a record. So we're going to be very close to record warmth on Tuesday. Wouldn't shock me if we do see at least some records tied, or if not broken, on Tuesday. So that's something we're going to be watching for. That's story number one with Tuesday, is the near record warmth. Story number two is going to be the fact that we have an approaching system Tuesday. As of now, it looks like late in the day. So this is our next more significant weather maker. This is going to bring some active weather through the kind of mid portion of the country Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And by active weather, I mean a good amount of rain, the warmth, but then also the potential for some thunderstorms. Not off the table that we see some stronger storms here Tuesday. Specifically, as of now, the timing would be late evening into, I think, Tuesday night. But that timing this far out can certainly still change. But as of now, Tuesday late in the day into Tuesday night / possibly into the overnight is an area of interest to watch for possibly some thunderstorms and some rain. The wind will also pick up, and then eventually this cold front associated with this low, which by the way is going to stay to our north, but that cold front will eventually drop in here probably Wednesday morning. So Wednesday early in the day, we'll probably see the high temperature, and then it'll come crashing down later in the day on Wednesday. Now, I mentioned that potential for some stronger storms. These are outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center, which sometimes we show. The Storm Prediction Center is a national forecasting branch for the National Weather Service. So if you didn't know, the National Weather Service is, under the umbrella of NOAA, right? The National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. You got the National Weather Service. There's offices all across the country. Here we have National Weather Service in Grand Rapids. There's also one in northern Indiana. But then the National Weather Service also has some offices that cover the entire country, one of them being the Storm Prediction Center. Their main focus is to look at severe weather potential every single day across the country. They're the ones that issue watches, and then warnings are issued by local offices. So that's a little weather knowledge I'm peppering you with. I'm peppering you with some weather knowledge in there. All right. So next Tuesday, next Wednesday, they're already kind of putting these polygons. What this indicates is that there is a chance, already a 15% chance is what they're suggesting, of severe weather. And that may not sound like a lot, but this far out, especially given it's February, the fact that they're already kind of like honing in on kind of this Mississippi Valley / Ohio River Valley region is definitely intriguing. And I think it speaks to the potential of severe weather in that time frame. Now, will this area shift slightly? Yes, more than likely it will. Will it get a little bit more honed in? Potentially. But traditionally, sometimes even if we're on the outer periphery of that, this far out, there's a decent chance for us to see some strong storms. And I do see that things are looking a little bit more meaty than they were 24 hours ago, even in some of the weather data. So that's definitely something that's caught my attention, is that like Tuesday, late afternoon, evening time frame, just with the ingredients I'm seeing. Now, anytime we have mid 60s in February, and then you have this colder air moving in behind it, you get that collision of air mass, right? That's what drives weather in our atmosphere, is that collision of air mass that creates rising motion. So you're bound to have, some activity. Just whether or not we'll see the stronger end storms is still what we're going to have to really just keep an eye on in the next several days. We won't know for sure, probably until, late Saturday, Sunday, just with some of the data that'll come in, whether or not we're going to be in the cards for any sort of strong storm potential. So just kind of keep it on the back burner in the brain, and we'll keep you updated. But overnight tonight, we're going to fall to about 33 degrees. Tomorrow, it's going to be the opposite of how it was today. Today, we saw clouds in the morning, some rain for some of you, and then it cleared up towards the end of the day. It's going to be the opposite tomorrow. If we see sun, it's going to be early, and then we're trending mostly cloudy, not as warm either, of course, with that 42. Saturday is the really cold day. In fact, that 15 degree would be the coldest low this month, which is crazy. And then as we get into next week, there's that warm up that comes with that chance of storms Tuesday, and then rain likely to linger into at least the first half of Wednesday. But again, that timing still could change. All right. I apologize. I was so hype on Glenn Miller in the chat that I forgot some of you. Gwen, good evening, Gwen. Loyal Gwen, always appreciate you hopping on here. Larry Weekly, Newton Township, what's up? I think see Ashley Boss is a boss, and she's in the house for sure. Are we going to get more winter? Joanne, as of now, it doesn't look too great. But historically speaking, I would be shocked if we didn't have at least one more accumulating snow. Like, it would be crazy if we didn't have any more accumulating snow. That being said, it does get harder and harder as we get later into the season. As we start getting into March, can we get snow in March? Absolutely. We can get decent snow in April sometimes. But it gets harder and harder for it to really accumulate and then really stick, especially. So traditionally, once we get into like mid to late March, if we get snow, it's usually a few inches, and then it melts pretty quickly. Now, like I said, every once in a while you get that mammoth like late season storm that produces a good accumulation. It's not out of the cards. But I will say just the pattern has been extremely El Nino-esque this winter, and there's no significant sign of that changing anytime super soon. The Climate Prediction Center, remember I was talking about the National Weather Service and different branches of the National Weather Service. So the Climate Prediction Center, they're called CPC for short, and they issue outlooks for basically the entire country, but like long term. And they, at last check, are still showing some really strong leaning for warmer than average, continuing well into the first full week of March. So we're gonna have a couple little dips in there, but as of now, neither of those look like they come with snow. And then basically, as we get into March, it definitely looks a bit rather lamb-esque, with some more mild air and a lot of warmth. You may be drawn to those snowflakes on Thursday, by the way, in the Celiata Group 7-day forecast. Don't put too much into that. That's essentially just some flurries potentially into early Thursday, kind of on the back edge of that cold front that will swing through. But it will not likely amount to anything in the way of accumulations. By the way, we could see a few flakes flying around tomorrow evening, but it's essentially just a few flurries. It's not going to amount to anything. I would put that chance even pretty low. I don't necessarily guarantee the chance of just a few flakes. But nonetheless, don't be shocked if you see just a brief flurry if you're out to dinner tomorrow night or something like that. But yeah, Mike, there's not much snow in the forecast for March, I would say, as of now. The outlooks all the way into the 3 to 4 week range favor above average temperatures. That would be through mid-March at least, with a leaning towards, there's not as strong of a leaning for drier than average, but I will say if we're looking warmer than average in March, you're starting to talk 40s and 50s versus like 30s still, because sometimes in the winter, warmer than average can still be conducive for snow, but not as we get later into the season. Joanne, the moon is so bright right now, and the moon is going to be up through tomorrow morning. If you're curious, let me see. How quickly can I pull this graphic? Let's see. Y'all, I have too many graphics. It's like trying to find a folder on your computer that is in a folder of about 300 other folders. That's basically what it's like. Look at this. This is beautiful graphic. Transition, dusk to dark. The moon is up. This is details on the snow moon, which is the full moon on Saturday. Technically reaches peak illumination at 7:30 in the morning. But don't worry, it still appears full Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night to the naked eye. Technically, this month, there it is. Technically, this month is a micromoon, which happens when the moon is in apogee, which is when the moon's orbit is an ellipse. It is elliptical. It's not a perfect circle. So there's points in its orbit where it's a little closer and sometimes a little farther. And at apogee, it's a little farther. And what does that mean? It means it's like 10% smaller to the naked eye versus average, or when it's kind of in the middle. So will you notice it? Probably not. But I figured I'd mention for all you space nerds out there. I'm serious. Glenn, that's so cool. Glenn Miller. We need to do a story about this. He's an 8th or 9th cousin to the Glenn Miller. Glenn Miller is the 8th or 9th cousin to the Glenn Miller, as in I've got a gal in Kalamazoo. Okay, Glenn Miller, I need to know. Did the original Glenn Miller have ties to Kalamazoo? Is that why he had a girl in Kalamazoo? I think we need to do a investigative piece on your family ties to the real Glenn Miller is what I'm saying. Okay, I'm fully invested in Glenn Miller. Let's chat. Joanne, Glenn may or may not be slightly creeped out right now. Cynthia, it's beautiful out tonight. Word. Casey, ready for a good thunderstorm, LOL. Casey, it's not unheard of for us to see them in February, but yeah, like kind of wild, right? That we're talking thunderstorms at the end of February. Bonnie is watching. We appreciate that, Bonnie. Hello, Triple Lee. Triple Lee, you got a cool name, Triple Lee. Shannon, good evening. I'm just catching up on comments, making sure I didn't miss anything. Ron Goodwin, glad the rain went south today. You know, Ron, I was too. But you know what's a little worrisome, y'all, is like we're not in a full-blown drought or anything yet, but I don't know. Like we could use a little rain and a little snow because, you know, the ground needs at least some moisture. Hello, Tina in Bangor. Shout out Bangor. Hello in Homer. Shout out Homer. Monica. What up, Monica? Kathy, are we lower than average in rainfall for the year? That's a great question, Kathy. You want to know about it? I'd like to show you. There's an old In Living Color sketch. I forget the character's name. Shout out In Living Color from the early 90s. But in Living Color, there was a sketch, and the guy is like a blues guitarist, and he's like to hear about it? Here it goes. And that's what I just thought of. Yeah. So if anyone knows that reference, you get a gold star. Let's see. Rain. I'm going to actually search. We're going to pull this up for Kathy. So here's our monthly and yearly precipitation. You can see year to date, there is actually a little bit of a surplus. Most of that comes from January, where we saw some decent snowfall and some rain. But so far wait. Yeah, no, I was right. Okay, so this month, there's a deficit for sure. So the last several weeks have been drier. You'd have to go back into, I think, like kind of like the second to third week of January when we had a decent amount of snow and then rain. And curiously enough, that 3.67, so precipitation, the gauges, at least that this comes from, they're measuring rainfall, but then also the liquid equivalent of any snowfall. So snow has a liquid equivalent essentially when it melts, as far as like how much that would have been if it were rain. So that accounts for both rain and like melted snow, if that makes sense. So we haven't necessarily seen 3.67 inches of pure rain. We've seen probably like maybe an inch or two of rain, and then like I would have to look at how much snow we saw in January. I think it was like maybe just below a foot, if I'm remembering right. All right. Remeni, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name right. So we do come on at 10. We recently, long story short, CW is no longer, at least for us. CW, the branding of CW changed ownership hands. It's kind of complicated. But now we have that same channel is just rebranded as the ARC, but it still should come in over your airwaves. If you have an antenna, it's going to come in the same way. Now, I have heard, I was just talking to one of my wife's colleagues that said that she has YouTube TV, and unfortunately, she is not, like, I don't know if we've switched over to some of the streaming platforms. I would imagine that's, like, in the works, but I actually need to follow up with our engineers and just ask them about that, because I've had some people ask me that question, because maybe you're not getting us, but like at my house, it was the same exact channel. It just changed the name on the guide, if you will. So I think it kind of depends on your carrier, if you have cable or streaming or what. But we do still have a 10 o'clock. And if all else fails and you can't, you can always stream us on our website. And you can even, I think, cast, if you have our app, you can cast that to your TV. I know that's a little cumbersome, but just as a temporary fix, if you're trying to watch your local news and maybe it's not on a streaming platform or something like that, then, you know, maybe that would be helpful. But yeah, that reminds me that I do mean to follow up with them. Ron, I miss seeing you, Ron. You know, I appreciate that. Austin, I love your info, man. Austin Cook. Ron, not on you. Yeah. So Ron, Yeah, that's what I've heard, and I think a good amount of people, such as yourself, have YouTube TV. So we gotta get on that. If we're not on YouTube TV, we need to figure out a workaround there. I'm just talking at this point. We're just hanging out. We're just hanging out with all 43 of you. Actually, yeah, 43 of you that are still watching. Oh my gosh, the Keith Thompson. Wow, he's in Florida, y'all. Everybody say hi, Keith. Excellent Facebook Live. Wow. You're gonna make me blush, Keith. Keith, I've been rambling for the last like 10 minutes. You missed the heart of the Facebook Live. Okay, not on DirecTV streaming. Thank you. I will check out the website. Cool. Yeah, I'll forward that along. Remeni, I'm so sorry if I'm totally botching your name. But I will forward that along to our engineers just to kind of like, I'm just curious what the answer is if we're working on that. Hopefully we are. Hi, Keith from Austin. Hi, Keith from Lori. Have a great vacation, Keith, says Kathy. Look at all that love, Keith. I know, Ben. Ben Richmond, my severe weather junkie himself. My fellow severe weather junkie. Yeah, Tuesday definitely looking interesting, Ben. And I don't know if you noticed in some of the latest data that like, I feel like the runs today were looking a little bit more conducive than yesterday. I was noticing a little bit more like of a shear profile than was shown yesterday. So that's some insider info. Ben is one of the few people that is going to understand what I was talking about there. But yeah, tomorrow or Tuesday is looking a little bit more interesting for sure. Do I think we'll see, a ton of severe weather? I'm not necessarily convinced right now, but depends on the timing of that front, Ben, and some other things. But that's it. All right, I gotta run because I'm gonna update a graphic about our year to date and our month to date snowfall and some other things, just kind of how this month stacks up. Right now, for the first half of the month, we were the warmest first half of February on record. I just pulled the numbers. Technically, we are now in second place behind 1984, but we are lagging behind. Get this. By 0.1 degrees. So we're neck and neck with the warmest February on record. And I think with the warmth that we're going to see next week, we could definitely tip the scale in the direction of warmest on record. I would not be shocked. So Austin, I got another severe weather junkie in here. Austin talking dirty to me. Those jet winds look nice. It is interesting, Austin. We got a little exit region action going on to our south. Marcia, Monday and Tuesday look great. This is true. The only exception, Marcia, some of the severe weather nerds and myself are chit-chatting about the potential for some strong storms possibly Tuesday later in the day. So that's something we're just watching for. Yeah, Peoria, in the Peoria region, they're definitely more primed, Robert, than we are. Just farther south, and there's a little bit more ingredients down there, but we're kind of right on the edge where we could have a little activity for sure. Funny enough, I just feel like anytime there's a chance of thunderstorms in February, especially late February with temperatures in the 60s, things can happen. Like there's just a different kind of set of ingredients in February than sometimes like the, late spring and summer. So that always gets my attention. Anytime there's a chance of thunderstorms in February, just because a lot of times when that happens, you get some kind of crazy weather happening, for lack of a better term. So anyways, I got to run, but I appreciate all you guys asking some great questions. Strong Cape in the region. Yeah, we have limited Cape here, but definitely a little bit farther south and southwest. It will be interesting next week. That is for sure. All right. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all of you. And Lori, thank you for the endorsement of our weather app. We really appreciate that. And if you don't have it, it's a great tool. The Weather Alert Network app, free in your device's app store. That is the plug for our app for all 61 of you that are still watching. So appreciate all that. Good chance of nadir. Okay, Robert, we'll have to talk offline, man. All right, thank you guys, and have a great rest of your Thursday. I'll be in for Keith. He'll be still down in Florida, soaking up some sunshine, hopefully. All right, bye everybody.